Explain coming up. News Radio 102.9 KARN. First news with Kevin Miller, joined by Senator Tom Cotton. Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
So, Eclipse glasses have an expiration date, or are they like milk?
I don't know. I mean, it said after 3 years you're supposed to toss them. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe it's something involving the lenses that degrade. I'm not sure, but...
I've looked at those maps of future eclipses, and it looks like Arkansas is dead bullseye for 2024.
Yeah, path to totality right through here. Interesting. So it sounds fun, but we're going to be inundated by people.
Now's the time to invest in hotel and campground stock all across. South and western Arkansas.
Totally agree. Airbnb, I'm on board. Stay at my house. I'll $500 a night. You're in. And by then, who knows? It may be $750 or $800 a night. So you never can tell. Senator Tom Cotton, News Radio 102.9 KARN. President Trump speaking on Afghanistan last night. As I understand, you support what the president had to say there.
I do support it, Kevin. The president was dealt a bad hand. We've had lots of twists and turns and drift over the years in Afghanistan, but we simply cannot allow what happened in Mosul in 2014 with the Islamic State to happen in Afghanistan, nor can we allow Iran to get a foothold in Afghanistan like they have in Iraq as well. Both of those are mortal threats to the United States, and they can't be allowed to use Afghanistan as a place to plot attacks against the United States, as happened on September 11th. So I think the president made the right call in going more aggressively against the Taliban, against ISIS, against Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, putting more pressure on Pakistan, which too often has provided safe havens to those organizations, and to give the commanders in the field the flexibility and discretion they need. As always in military matters, the mission, which the president set, should dictate the troops and the resources committed, which is what the general's professional advice will provide.
Senator, from your perspective as somebody who has been in the military, what needs to be our end game there, or is there one involving Afghanistan?
The main end game, Kevin, is that Afghanistan can't be used as a safe haven where terrorists have freedom of action and freedom of movement to carefully and deliberately plot attacks against the United States, which is exactly what happened on 9/11. About 5-6 years ago, after the initial troop surge in the Obama era, we had made a lot of gains in rolling back the Taliban and Al-Qaeda at the time. Unfortunately, because President Obama had announced a preset withdrawal date, and he continued to move towards a total withdrawal at the end of his term, the Taliban has regained a foothold, and now not just Al-Qaeda, but also the Islamic State is present. That's why I think it's important that the president made it clear that our commitment to Afghanistan is based on conditions on the ground, and the main condition is that the Afghan government and local Afghans are able to prevent the Taliban and terrorist groups from using their territory to plot attacks against the United States.
Certainly, Kevin Miller, along with Senator Tom Cotton, News Radio 102.9 KARN. And I guess my point being, is there going to be a time when we don't have troops on the ground in Afghanistan?
I expect there to be a time, Kevin, and I hope there will be. But at the same time, we have to look at what happened in Iraq when we withdrew all of our troops in 2011. It only took 3 years for the Islamic State to take over half of that country, and look what that's led to. Not just in the Middle East, but around the world, including here in the United States, in terms of terrorist attacks against our people. So that's why we have to focus on making sure that the Afghan government and local Afghan communities and tribes are able to control their territory, and whatever else may be happening there, stop those kind of terrorist groups from plotting attacks against the United States. We're not in Afghanistan to create a Western-style constitutional democracy. We're not there to create, a market-based economy just like ours. Those things would be good, but that's up to the Afghan people. We're there to make sure that country can't be used as a launching ground for another terrorist attack like 9/11.
Senator, the president has spoken out against NATO before. I mean, he said that NATO was obsolete. In this case, he seems to be asking for cooperation. Do you feel like maybe the president at this point sees things in a different light now that he's been surrounded by some people that have military expertise?
Well, the president has rightly said, as have past presidents and other leaders, to include myself, that our NATO partners in Europe need to do a lot more than they are doing.
Well, he said it was obsolete.
Well, especially our big NATO partners like France and Germany. Now that I think he's seen that they've started to do more. They've started to spend more on their defense. They're willing to commit their own troops in Afghanistan on a continual basis, as they have in recent years. Then he understands that, America first does not mean America alone, as he and some of his senior advisors have said.
And that's what I'm asking. Do you feel like he sees these things in a different light now?
Well, as he said last night, when you sit behind that desk in the Oval Office, sometimes you do see things in a different light. But he also has helped our NATO partners change their behavior as well, to start spending more on their defense, to recommit their own troops to Afghanistan. And I think those are good things. Lots of presidents and other American leaders have talked about that in recent years, but no one's been able to induce the kind of change in their behavior that President Trump has. And that's a good thing for the United States. That's a good thing for NATO.
Senator Tom Cotton, News Radio 102.9 KARN. Senator, a pleasure to talk to you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kevin. Take care.
747 News Radio 102.9 KARN. Let's get an update. News now.